Test. Hey, welcome back to my channel. So, it's been a while since I posted, and a lot's been going on. First thing, I am a professor at a Research One university. This just started up this week. I'm finishing up my first week now. This is Friday, what is it, August 30th, and it's been interesting getting back to teaching, because in my research positions before in engineering, they don't ever actually require you to teach, but now I'm a faculty member in a mathematics department and an R1, and this is in Florida, so really nice and humid, and we have a big old hurricane headed our way, so starting out in a proper Florida spirit. Let's see, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got here and what the expectations are, both of me, of my department, and of my department, of me. And the whole goal of an assistant professor position is to get tenure. So I'm on a tenure track, which is sort of a probationary period of 6 years where you do a whole lot of research, and at the end you hand them your CV and say, can you please grant me tenure and promotion. And so the goal right now, the target is to get an associate professor position in, say, 4 to 6 years. Right, so let's talk about it. All right, so to get this position, you need to apply. That's the first thing, right? And so the application season is usually starting around now, like August, September-ish. You'll start seeing a trickle of faculty positions appearing at mathjobs.org if you're so inclined to check. And then you submit your application, and then you wait. I think I've sent out probably like 200 applications over the past like 3 or 4 years, and I've gotten only a handful of interviews. So these are extremely competitive positions, and the best way to get them is to do a postdoc and get research done. So you're looking to get money, and you're looking to get publications in your postdoc, and if you can demonstrate those things, then that increases your chances of getting a job, but by no means does it guarantee it. Anyway, it's a really competitive environment. So I feel very fortunate to be able to end up here, and it's actually the university I wanted to be at. So after I applied, and that was basically in October, it wasn't until January that I actually had the interview, and this was like January 7th, and the interview was arranged in December, so I had to wait a few months before I even found out I was going to be interviewed. And then we did a phone interview, and then they brought me on campus to do an on-campus interview. I think they brought in like 4 other people, but I didn't see them. It was just like a one-day ordeal. So there I go in, and I give a talk, and I hope they like me. They, of course, also ask me questions, and you can tell there's certain members on the committee that weren't really keen on me. I don't think they had anything against me personally, but people want to find somebody that actually can work with them. And for somebody who doesn't like to talk to people much, an entire day of interviews is extremely tiring. Then after the interview in January, I didn't hear anything, and so I had reached out at some point in like February, like end of February, because they said they were going to make the decision like in January, and I hadn't heard anything, and so I reached out, and none of the committee members were able to give me any information. Eventually, I did find out that they were interviewing somebody else. Yeah, that's disheartening, and it happens. But you keep holding out a little hope, because that person might not actually want the position. And it turned out they didn't. I think I was 2nd or 3rd on the list, and there were 2 other people who probably had other offers out of the universities. And then in March, I heard they told me that they wanted to extend me an offer. And there were other details about it, and I'm dealing with a 2-body problem, and that's something for a whole other video. But yeah, there were a bit of complications, and we did our best to work them out to the best of our abilities. Then in April, I accepted the position. Then they brought me in May for a post-hire visit. So the post-hire visit is basically when you scramble to try to find a house or a place to live, and then you also give a talk at a colloquium, and there's a lot less stress because they hired you and they're stuck with you, and so you don't worry so much about that as much as you did the interview. But I had another issue, though, is that I had a grant proposal due that same week, and on like the second day of my post-hire visit, so I was there for 4 days. And yeah, so there was really no relaxing. So I'd go in, I'd give my talk, and tour around with a realtor to try to find a house, and then come right back to my hotel room and just work until the middle of the night, trying to get a grant out. Any moment I had, I was working on the grant or talking to people in the department. It was quite a hustle. But yeah, but everything worked out. We ended up finding a house, and we ended up closing on it, and then we moved in July. And yeah, so there you go. So teaching first class happened on Monday, and yeah, so that's where we are. So the next question is, what do they want out of an assistant professor? So assistant professors, like I said before, are on a probationary period of what we call the tenure track years. So you have about 6 years, some places give you 7, to get out a whole lot of publications and I guess be on your way to prominence or like worldwide recognition or something like that. That's how they kind of put it. You know, I mean, it's business people trying to make everything sound fancy. But yeah, but basically you want to publish quality publications and you want to get them out before year 6. And so the College of Arts and Sciences, which is where my mathematics department is located, they've actually moved on quantifying the tenure process here. So they wanted to make things clear for assistant professors and like what they needed to do, because a lot of times it's kind of ambiguous and it really stresses people out. At the same time, when you put numbers on things, there is the chance of people gaming the system. So it's this weird balance of trying to keep quality professors versus quantity professors. And well, I guess you really want both quality and quantity as much as possible. But yeah, but you don't want somebody who's only publishing in like quartile 4 journals. You want people who are publishing in quartile 2 and 1, and unless there's a particular reason for the community to be publishing less. But yeah, so the target here is to do about 12 pubs. And but the job of an assistant professor isn't just to do publications and research. So there's like 3 big points that people want to get. And you have teaching, research, and service. And we talked a little bit about what goes into research. We'll get back to that in a second. So teaching is a huge part of being a professor. That's what most people know professors for. Almost everybody who finds out I'm a mathematician asks if I just want to teach. And certainly I like teaching, but it's not the only thing I want to do. I want to do more research than just teaching. But teaching is a huge part of it, and you need to be good at it. So things that go into teaching is things like teaching class, and you don't have to be perfect. You just have to basically not be terrible. As long as you can communicate information in a good way to students, then you'll probably be fine for tenure. This is often evaluated by student evaluations, so those are actually rather important for tenure. From what I understand, just as long as it isn't absolutely terrible, you should be fine. Another part of teaching is mentoring graduate students. You need to probably graduate a student or have one close to graduation by the time you come up to tenure. And it's important to remember that it takes about 5 years for somebody to graduate with their PhD. So you should probably be looking for somebody within the first couple of years, or in mathematics departments often, you don't really start working with somebody until you finish your second year of graduate school. So you need to find somebody within a couple of years so that they can finish out those last 3 years working with you. So those are the things. You want to teach, you want to mentor graduate students, you need to be on committees as a chair or as a committee member, something like that. And then for research on the second part of this tenure track process, you're going to be doing research, like I said. And so the College of Arts and Sciences has declared that we should get between 8 and 12 publications in good journals by the time we come up. So that's like 2 publications a year, which I'm not really too worried about. I have a pretty good momentum going, and and so I anticipate being able to meet that fairly quickly, actually. Other parts of research is you need to bring in money, so writing grants to NSF, NIH, DOD, wherever you need to get money from. You can even do SBIRs, which are like small business innovative research. And the other ones, if you don't know, is the National Science Foundation, the National Institute of Health, and the Department of Defense. And I'm lumping a lot of things into the DoD, but that could also be the Air Force, Navy, Army. They all have research divisions that give professors money, if you ask really, really nicely. Other parts of research is you want to attend conferences, and so go to a couple a year, and you want to give talks at those conferences. And so basically everything is about putting your face out there, being social in some sense. Personally, I would just prefer to be locked in a room, not have to ask anybody for money, and I would love to just work on problems, but that's not the world we work in. And then the last of the three things you need to do for tenure is do some service. Now, this is really de-emphasized for tenure track professors. They really want to make sure you get your research, and they want to make sure they help you rise to prominence. You have to go to a few committee meetings, do silly things like holding up the banners during graduation, things like that. Those are service sort of things that aren't directly related or impacting your research. There are other service things you can do for the community, but those might be things you want to wait to do until you actually have tenure, and you're not worried about losing your job if you over-focus on something. So yeah, that's the idea. So to get tenure, you need to be good at teaching, research, and service. Where teaching, you teach classes, mentor graduate students. Research, you publish, you bring in money, and you go to conferences. And for service, you do committee meetings. So that's the goal in order to get to a tenured position, where I will change my title from assistant professor to associate professor. All right, well, thanks for listening. I don't mean to talk your ear off, and have a good day.